But anyway, there is another drama, though, that is way spicier about the LPL that we'll now address, which is right in the midst, Yamato. Right, here's the difference. The Shadow one, like I say, seems like from the outside it's fairly straightforward. A fan, probably of one of the rival teams that beat them. You know what, mate? Maybe it's even actually a fan of LGD. And he's just salty that or FPX or one of these teams. They're just salty that this guy doesn't play for them anymore. Who the fuck knows what it's based on? But someone's reported him. It seems like he's still going to be allowed to play. Okay, there was a minor little drama, but it hasn't seemed like it's nothing massive. It doesn't seem like it's going to affect the team. The bigger drama is right at the exact moment when anyone's legend and having all these problems. Don't worry, we will definitely get into the IG series, which literally gave all faith restored. They're going to semis of Worlds. I hope you understand this. It's going to be Faker against Rookie at Worlds. It's happening. You know it. But we'll get to that later. The key thing is, right in amongst anyone's legend coming back and having all these problems getting their shape together, they then have a ridiculous, massive drama, which at least tangentially centers around Shanks, their mid laner, who again, by the way, this is a player where, to contrast with the Faker and Rookie example we just gave, he hasn't been around that long. He's only just got to the top now. He's a champion finally. He's having all these international results. And now he has a stupid scandal like this where basically, here's the problem with this drama, if people don't know. Basically, online, there was some sort of a drama with a girl where a bunch of pro players were going back and forwards with this girl. And look, I will say, I actually did read more than the initial threads. There were some things where there were times when it seemed like she was fucking with them and saying rude things to them, etc. But the problem basically is, Shanks, Icon, the old IG fucking mid lane, if you remember back in the day, I think it was IG he played for. OMG, I know he was on at one point in time. So he was on a bunch of different squads. That guy and another pro player, but some of them aren't as famous anymore, unfortunately. And then Shanks as well, basically said a bunch of comments about this girl. Now, I will say the Shanks one seemed more like, I had the vibe from him, Yamato, if you get the archetype of like, you know, the kid where it's like on their own, they probably wouldn't say something harsh, but if they're at school and they're in the group of bad kids and then, you know, the really bad kid says something, they might like join in to seem like cool, like, oh yeah, and then this thing here, like, but maybe on their own they wouldn't. I got that vibe more from Shanks because his thing was a bit milder. Some of the others were saying some wild shit though, like some of them were basically just openly on their stream or on Weibo and stuff, just saying shit like, back in the day, we would beat you with sticks or some like mental shit like that about this girl, and make it like, put it this way, let's just say in China, some of these people have a very different perspective on like, let's say like sex work and stuff like. They would just basically calling this woman like a prostitute or something fucking wild like that. And so essentially, there's two areas I want to get into this. One is, obviously, it's kind of mad because the idea of people who are actually pros or any time were pros are saying this publicly is a bit shocking. You would think this would be like, because there's the thing about it. It'd be one thing if this was like a leaked, you know, WhatsApp group that people were in where everyone's saying edgy shit and it's like people are posting jokes for the boys and it's taking out. Some of this stuff was said publicly. I will say some of them technically were on like alt accounts, but there were ones that apparently were like very easy to connect to their original account and figure out who it was. So there's that aspect, but then there's also the bigger aspect that it's not just what they've said that's offended people. One thing we can branch into in a second maybe is it feels like this has been a really harsh reality check for a lot of those like parasocial fans who treat all the players like they're cuddly little baby nephew kids. Like, oh, it's just cutesy. And then it turns out actually maybe that player has wild opinions about women, mate, or maybe he would call you a prostitute if you said the wrong thing to him. So what? Obviously, this is a big topic. Where do we get into this one? What was your thoughts when you saw this, mate? I almost didn't believe it was real when I saw the first comments. I was like, really? Holy shit. Like, is this the right account? Have they checked it's them? Like, this is some wild stuff they were saying.
I would say it's always, like, my first initial reaction, because it's like we hear things coming out of what's going on Weibo and, like, the streams and so forth, and, like, you're getting it through a translation and so forth, but the amount of things that came out surrounding this and the translation and the rally behind it is... it's like clear as day, you know, it's super, super clear as day. And the main thing for me is the fact that I do think that like how Shanks was talking was very misogynistic, and then they were doing it in the group. Like Icon at one point just straight up like threatened to kill her.
Fucking hell, yeah. I knew
he basically like wrote, he just said like, what's your address? I'm going to send someone to kill you. Like to do that with your own account. Like first to do that is insane, but then you did it with your own account and all these things. It's like how big of an ego do you have to pull that off? And then Shanks continued with like, oh, Icon just wants to date you. Give him your address. He really likes your voice. It's like really like, it's like really, really disgusting. And I think the uproar, if anything, I can understand it because it seems like certain behaviors, especially in the LPL, it seems like players just get away with shit. And I think the frustration of that is understandable, because the amount of stories you heard that are getting leaked, I don't know which one is true and not, because I'm not inside of it, but I understand why people are fucking angry to the point where it's like we need to set an example of some sort here, because you know the of course the responsibility of setting an example and behaving appropriately, I think, is something that a pro player should carry. And if let's say pro players just get away with being like I'm sure you have plenty of stories from like earlier seasons. Some of the shit that I heard from earlier seasons about what pro players do and what they were doing in from coming out of China, like those are crazy. But for me in particular, there was just stories, so I didn't know what the fuck to do with that. But it's like when I hear stories coming from left and right, time and time again, you kind of see trends in behavior. And I think that in terms of that responsibility and the uproar, I think that's extremely understandable, because I think this type of shitty behavior is extremely disappointing. The other guys like LP, SMLZ, they're not fucking playing anymore. He is like winning and is on the top
also
team.
Is something I hate about this, Yamato. Right? I also hate this because I also want to just tell Shanks, like, mate, look at this bad group of friends you've got. Like, they're all retired, mate. They don't actually have like a reputation to ruin in that sense, but they're almost like egging you on to get involved in some drama right at the beginning of your peak, your career. Like, this is actually this is the entourage you need to get rid of, mate. Like, these people are going to drag you the fuck down. Because like I say, he was saying some stupid shit himself, but his stuff always seemed like it came in, like I say, you know what I mean? It came in the wake of the other people saying stuff. So it's like he was trying to like join in and be edgy or some shit. And even though, by the way, that's totally unacceptable shit you're saying. And then also, I know what you mean. I always have got this weird vibe. This is where actually people try to make like Asia one thing and it isn't. It's not a monolith like that. Like Chinese culture definitely is different from Korean culture. The difference is, put it this way, you've been to Busan, right, in Korea? You've been to like, if you ever go there, I don't know if you saw this, but even when you're walking along the beach, because it's all like a beach area, if people don't know, it's like the main attraction of Busan is a beach. There are these like, they literally have their own red light district, if you don't know. They have like an hour with literal red lights that are like a bunch of apartments along the front of the beach. And that the idea is if you go there, it's like a bathhouse or something, or like a prostitute's there or something. And what I was told basically was like, oh, what people do in Korea is you just don't acknowledge that exists. That's something like, no one would openly be talking about like we're going there. It's more the sort of thing like privately, if people do that thing, they do it, but it's shameful. You don't talk about it publicly. It's something that's done separately. I've actually heard it similar in Germany with the brothels, and people don't know. Everyone knows where they are. It's just not something you say like, yeah, I'm going there on the weekend. Like, if you do it, you do it, but you have a sense essentially of like decorum, of like, you don't tell everyone I'm doing shit like that. That's some private shit that I chose to do for whatever reason, right? That's the vibe I always got in Korea. Like, people will do some shady stuff or get in some drama, but they actually understand, like, you don't ever want this to come out publicly. What shocks me about this story is how brazen these guys are publicly about this topic. Like I say, this wasn't someone's WhatsApp group with the boys that got leaked about. This is like, the reason I find it wild is when you're saying that, what it reminded me of is, I have always thought one of the worst things about how incredibly huge football is in the UK, particularly the Premier League, is, mate, there are so many stories like this in the Premier League, I can tell you, of football players. Mainly it tends to be stuff like beating someone up in a pub, or the classic one as well is you drive your car too fast on the road and you're speeding because you have like a Lamborghini or something. Or another one, you might remember this happened to Suarez, it happened to loads of Liverpool players actually, the one where a fan drives next to you and he goes like, hey, whatever. And it's like late at night, and then you spit at his, that's a classic one, by the way. Like he says something to you, and yeah, he might have said something mean, but then you like spit out your window at him. That's happened a bunch of times. And the reason I bring this up is because they always seem to get away with it, Yamato. Because it is like the biggest sport in the whole country, and these people are worth millions and millions. Put it this way, when they get in a bar fight where someone does get, his arm broken or his head smashed in, they magically never seem to miss the next game. You know what I mean? They don't seem to go to prison for 2 weeks or suddenly be out of committee like me or you would if we got in the same scenario. There's a feeling of sort of like they just get to, they're different than the rest of us. They get to walk up here and we're just little minions. This almost implies, by the attitude of these LPL players, they think that applies to them. They think like, hey, I'm some shit hot player, mate. I'm with it. I can say whatever I want. And it's like, you can't, mate. And especially not in this case, because I wanted to tie this to a bigger topic. Since later we'll talk about some of the T1 fans and the Korean fans, which people might know are probably the most famous example of like people who are really parasocially connected to their team, where they don't just talk about them like, here's the difference, Yamato. If I get like emotional talking about Rookie getting screwed on his teammates. I still mean in like a game sense. Like I want the player who plays in the server to accomplish great things. I often think when a lot of the fans talk about some of the Korean players, for example, they almost think of that player like it was their older brother or something, and they're like really personally connected to what happens to him and if it's unfair or whatever. Well, the reason I bring this up is I actually think a lot of Westerners who haven't followed those girls who do all the translations, so they don't know what players say over in China, they try to do a lot of what I see as like T1 fan behavior, where basically you almost treat the pro player like he was a cute little kid, like it was your little nephew or something. Like Guma's just like, the one with all the energy, and he's got like that fucking cool smile. Kerry is the little awkward one who's the little nerd who's really good, smart and stuff. They do that, but what they forget is these are adult men, and in certain cases, like I don't want to go as far as to imply they're like incels as well, but I will say a lot of them have just spent most of their adult life just sitting playing, not even just video games, one video game. They just sat playing League of Legends like 14 hours a day. That's all they've done. So as a result, I always tell people this. Where do you think they get the... It's why I've always said Double, if to me, always still talks like a 16-year-old, because he spent so much of his life in the game. He didn't have as much time to socialize. Like, he didn't have an office job. He didn't go and backpack through Europe for a year and find him. He didn't do any of these things. He just played video games since he was about like 19 until, I don't know, 2 years ago or something. He just played the same game. So unfortunately, I think people also are finding out the shocking reality that you might want to imagine how that person is, but the reality could be really extreme the other way. Like some of these guys are just really like hardcore young men who, some of them, quite frankly, to be kind, I'd say they're misguided, Some of them actually just seem like they've got pretty fucked up perspective on life. Like some of them have gone down a dark path, mate.
It's as an additional layer. It's not only that they go into esports at an impressionable age. It's like dealing with levels of fame and money.
Oh, true,
it's
yeah,
like
sure.
dealing with these things at the same
Yeah,
time. Like there are definitely like risks.
Oh, I forgot that as well, Yamato. There's another thing. If you happen to come from a really poor family in Korea or China, you could suddenly be like way above your pay grade. Yeah, you could be making loads of money. You might think you're a superstar. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the parasocial aspect of it all is like, I think obviously if something like this came out about our boy Rookie, I would be fucking disappointed. I would be pissed.
Absolutely.
But I think the level of parasocial, like how far you go, I think is always the thing. It's like you gotta just treat your idols like fucking, it's the same you would treat a character from Game of Thrones. It's like it's not really real. It's not. This is a very curated image. It's like I always reference back to. It's like I followed like the Drake Kendrick Lamar beef really, really much, and I always said that the biggest advantage Kendrick had is the fact that he's just not on any social media, doesn't do anything. He only speaks through the music, so he can really, really alter the image of himself through his music, while Drake did the opposite. Like he shows up on Aiden Ross's stream, on XQ2's stream. His Instagram always liking posts. He's always like really, really being out there, so everyone can like go through a fine-tooth comb, like with everything, just look at every detail. Oh, this interaction did was weird. What he said here was really awkward. What the fuck was that? Like, this is very questionable. And that ties into all of these things that are being launched at him as attacks to become a lot more credible. But even if, like, I don't know, even in that sense, I don't know who the fuck Kendrick is as a person, even though he's my favorite artist. I will never get to the point where I say he's a great person. It's like, I love his music. I love the image that he has portrayed at the current time, but I don't know what's going to come out. It was the same. I guess a better example is like Kanye West. It's like everyone said, it's like, but he made Graduation. But it's like some of the shit Kanye West has said over the last 6 years. It's like Kanye West died to me 2019. Like it becomes inseparable at some point. So I think it's just degrees. I think there's a sense of entertainment and enjoyment in like rooting for the person too, but making sure that you keep yourself tied to the ground and realizing that this can be a shitty person, because I think that's something that just appears in any fan bases where, when it becomes big enough, your hero can't be like, can't do any wrong, and you begin to argue for everything that he did, why there was a reason. Like I stumbled into this random subreddit, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's basically Ronaldo fans just talking shit on everything that Messi has ever done and ever did and ever done. And it's just posts. It's like basically like a community, like 50,000 people. All they do is just break down.
50,000.
It's like, what on earth is this? It's like a fan base it becomes so big, they start to have divisions. It's like, this is the attack division, this is the defensive division, this is the division of communication. It becomes like a nation almost. It's weird how it tends to, not weird, but it's like, it's funny how that same sentiment just builds and is created within any community that just becomes large enough. Because in my experience, Reddit is at its peak when there's like 5,000 people. You read about some niche topic. You have like some people sharing stories about what they do, and then it becomes big, and then it's just, you know?
Oh, mate, one thing I think so sad is we all do it because we're coming from a giant sort of like League of Legends where there's loads of fucking idiots that really do just comment on the headline, or they didn't watch the game, or they're going off like a rookie narrative from like 8 years ago or something like that, or the chalky ones, right? We all talk shit on Reddit. I know what you mean, though. It is all about like the threshold, Yamato. It's once you get too many casuals and idiots, it gets out of control. It becomes like mob behavior. Because I know what you mean. I actually still to this day follow some really small subreddits that are for like, you know, some niche prog rock band or electronic artist that hasn't put out an album in 15 years. And the difference is, Yamato, because those subreddits are like fairly dead, or they have a very small amount of people who follow them, who are just like real fans, you don't get any of the drama in there, mate. You don't have like constant witch hunts or people like, hey, the fucking new album sucked, we shouldn't be fans of this group. And it's just all like chill people who are like, oh, cool, there's something new out, oh, I'll check it out. I know what you mean, though. Once there is like a sweet spot. I think you're right. It is like a few thousand. Once you get over a few thousand, it feels like people go mad.
Just to add as well, I like, my theory is that when it goes beyond, it's like when you reach those smaller communities, it's usually for the right reason. But then it gets to the point where there is credibility to earn within a community.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like, usually it's like you always have like within fan communities like that usual, you know, Twitter account that shows up and is always doing the posts, and suddenly they gain something. You know, you get social credibility, they get a voice, they get louder, there's something to contest for, and then suddenly it seems like the intention is no longer, oh, I just want to enjoy this, you know, this niche card game I found, and this is the community in it. You know, it just becomes like, oh, there is a lot of attention to be gained here. I'm going to fight for it, and I'm going to do it in ways that are deeply like irrational and just use strategy to win. You know, like voice points almost. You know.
Anyway, as far as I can tell, there's nothing aside from fans being really disappointed, understandably so, by the way. Who wants to find this out about your favourite player? Or, especially like I say, in the case of Shanks, like, the biggest fuck up about this is you've done it right when, like I say, every other thing was like a tick for your career. It was like, yeah, well done, you're passing, like, you're becoming a star. Remember, you're even an actual Chinese player. You're not even some like foreign Korean player. You're a Chinese mid laner, bro. Just like Knight, you now have the real expectation. You might be the first Chinese mid to ever win Worlds. That could be huge. You could become, if you'd play cards right, one of the most popular players to ever play League of Legends. Think about how huge the Chinese fan base is. And obviously, understandably, they care more about Chinese players than foreign players. So like everything was going perfect for you. You were almost having like one of the best rookie, not truly rookie, but like at the top level, like champion level first years to be on top. And now you've done this stupid scandal where at a minimum, this will be referenced as like a meme. People will figure out some like fucking line they remember from someone saying some shit, or so it's just sad, isn't it? Like what a stupid, it's just so necessary as well. But that's the other thing I would say. The other keyword to me is so necessary. Like this wasn't like some real world person who'd done something to you where you had to get back at them or whatever. You've just gone out your way to make yourself just look like an idiot. You just look like
a 6 a.m. as well. It's like 6 a.m. day before match. Like,
I think
what on earth are you doing?
Exactly, because there's the other thing, Yamato. I think actually, wasn't this actually right before the IG match? I think it was, wasn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
It's like, well, what do you do with your life? 6 a.m. you're doing this shit. Like, I believe he's getting fined 3 months' salary by the organization. So the organization like showcased like that, oh, this is behavior that we don't stand by. I think the main thing that people want to push for, right, is the fact that, especially with the consistencies of punishments across like other regions.
LPL, yeah.
It's like in LPL is very inconsistent. It's like, you know, the match fixing. I do the bunny fingers because it's very vague and gray in terms of what players have done and what they are forced to do. But I guess a similar instance of like Klid being like very, very like misogynistic in his messaging to, and it was leaked and came out, and he just got fucking insta headshot because it's just there's no tolerance for that. It's like if this happened, for example, in Korea or like in Europe or in any other region, it would be like your career, you would be done. So it's hard to speak deeper for me because I don't know what the culture that is set in the LPL and in China in specific in this context and what the online scene is. But I think this is very, very bad behavior, and I understand why the fandom would like LPL to also step in to kind of set a precedence. Like, what is our standard? Are you just going to let this happen, let this be? Are you a part of it? Because usually investigations happen from Riot's side, but of course, in terms of how everything is run in the LPL, is very, very different. Because even if it would be symbolic, it's like he is suspended for 2 series, and maybe it hurts his chances, whatever. But it's like at least they took a stance. It's like this is showing that this is not acceptable because. Who knows? Maybe more shit's going to happen. Maybe other players are going to do something.
More
like,
cool,
who knows?
funny,
What is the
interesting
standard
clips
of behavior
based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or be a pleb and don't.